Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open with occult investigator Stefan Crosscoe telling the legend of the original she-wolf. The sorceress Stirba is the mother of all werewolves and rules over her brood from her castle in Transylvania.
I saw her sit upon the hairy beast.
Her bane is then shown standing at the back of a funeral service being held for a woman that he has no relation to. Karen was killed on live television in the midst of transforming into a werewolf, so the reporter Jenny's here to get the scoop. In attendance is Karen's brother Benjamin, who Crosscoe comes up to after the service to tell him that his sister is still alive. Since Ben is the only person in town who never saw the report, he tells the stranger to piss off, but Jenny has some questions for him. All Cross tells her is that Karen is a werewolf who needs her immortal soul saved as they see a siren named Mariana. She leaves her servant Erle at the cemetery and that night goes prowling the local club scene searching for dinner. Crosscoe's also there with some goofy glasses trying to fit in, but he sticks out like an old man in goofy glasses trying to fit in. The shades cause him to lose sight of Mariana, who leads a group of punks to an abandoned warehouse with the promise of pleasure. It does look kinda fun throwing large objects at these horny creeps until she transforms into a werewolf and goes on a rampage. They're all swiped up quickly except for the final guy, who gets scared and takes a tumble off the roof before splatting all over the girl. She's then also dragged away, and the next day Ben and Jenny arrive at Crosscoe's estate to endure his hungover speech. He also has the only tape that continued recording after the broadcast ended of Karen transforming into a werewolf. Upon seeing his hairy sister shot dead, Ben's still skeptical, but Jenny believes everything Cross says like a good reporter. He tells them that werewolves who've been directly turned by Stirba can only be killed by titanium, but you could make it silver and nothing in the story changes. Crosscoe gives Jenny a box of titanium bullets, which again could have been silver, but Ben doesn't seem to understand anything that's going on. It's only later that night when he's at home does Ben comprehend that Cross said he's going to stick a blade into his dead sister's heart. Along with Jenny he races down to the cemetery, where Crosscoe fortunately takes forever wetting his sword before the plunge. Jenny and Ben arrive with his rifle ready to shoot the stranger, but they get ambushed by a couple of werewolves. Ben has a quick draw on him that helps them survive a few times in the film, and they make it inside his sister's final resting place. He still threatens to blow off the hunter's head if he touches his little sis, but Karen transforms, so Big Bro loads her full of lead. That doesn't work, so they just seal her inside the coffin while Mariana in wolf form tries to abduct Jenny, but Ben's on it. Earl also tries while in the middle of a transformation, but Ben catches him with the most ineffective looking net made out of shoelaces. Loose lips Earl immediately tells them that the hairy witch resides in Transylvania before Crosscoe runs his titanium dagger through the snitch's heart. Ben volunteers to accompany Cross, but he doesn't look too happy about it until Jenny also agrees to go, and then he's like, alright. They jump a plane from America to Transylvania while Mariana follows them on a train and gets picked up by Vlad at the station. She's been summoned by the werewolf queen along with everyone else in this truck, who pick up a pair of manly short shorts for lunch. When they arrive at the castle, a coven of werewolves is holding an occult ritual involving a few captured women and buckets of blood. Vlad hosts the ceremony where the 10,000-year-old Stirba, who looks every bit her age, drains a young woman's life force. Everyone chants some gibberish and Stirba regains her youthfulness, so she's able to get out those tatas that were tucked into her socks. Vlad is then immediately all over her, but Stirba wants him to bring in Mariana because this she-wolf bats for both teams. As the two servants get into bed, she contractually rips open her top, but then just stands there watching before getting all hairy. This is as far as Stirba's transformation ever takes her into a wolf, as she jumps into bed and we get this noise out of Vlad. Meanwhile, our hunters get their first brush with the locals when they come across a person struck by a car. Everyone gathers until the woman wakes up, then they walk off because they know she's about to transform into a werewolf. They just ditch these tourists, so Crosscoe impales the gypsy before she wolfs out, then follows the villagers into town on foot. It's just so that Ben and Jen can have a jump scare with the werewolf in the backseat, but again Quick Draw McGraw here is on it with the titanium bullets. As if nothing happened, they arrive at the village celebrating the full moon festival and check into a room at the hotel. The clerk assigns them room 666 despite not even having that many, and their bags are taken up by his nephew Tonda. This weirdo operates as their guide for the trip while Jenny places some garlic around the room because we're in vampire country. The pair begin a romance when Jenny says she needs someone to hold her, and Ben just so happens to be the only person around. As they have a quickie upstairs and eavesdropping, Vlad gets it out on a woman right there in the street, but he puts it away when Ben does. The first thing this new couple does in a foreign country is follow the beckoning dwarf into a church, because why not? Vasile wants to join their fight against Stirba and takes them to Crosscoe, who's gathered several locals who've all lost loved ones to the hairy witch. They plan to locate the cult by following Mariana because apparently that's an unthought of genius move. The couple receive amulets of protection from Cross, then hit up the celebrations, which teaches kids about wolves in sheep's clothing. Jenny feels uncomfortable, so they return to the hotel as we get some random scenes of her in the tub, then with Ben in bed doing nothing. We're then shown the she-wolf in bed with her own besties before wandering around her castle in some sweet-looking armor. She wears sunglasses inside and basically just sits around while her brood participates in general debauchery, or as Crosscoe would put it,
The filthiness of fornications.
In the morning, Ben notices Mariana, so he tells Tonda to watch Jenny while he follows the siren back to the castle alone. Crosscoe also finds this a silly idea, so he tells Vasile to follow and gives Ben special earwax that will protect him against spells. The dwarf then kills a guard with what Ben calls a new technique, but he just bludgeoned him in the back of the head, which is about as old as time. When Vasile peers through the window, Stirba orders her minions to transform and hunt him down while she begins chanting a spell into the fire. The hunters try to flee through the forest, but Vasile drops his earplugs, allowing the witch's spell to pop his little eyeballs. Ben, on the other hand, has the pack nipping at his heels, but somehow manages to make it all the way back to the village. He isn't able to find Jenny because her guide promised that he would take her to Ben and got her out in these woods all alone. Just like his uncle, the bellboy is a werewolf and tries to eat Jenny, but not before trying to do other things first. She's saved from the canine Lovin by Stirba, who wants to convert the girl into her brood and use her necklace for bait. They restrain Jenny in the skull-filled catacombs beneath the castle and lather her with blood before attaching her recognizable amulet to Vasile. He's now under the witch's control and lures Crosscoe away from the public so that the blind dwarf can assassinate the hunter. Charging in to save the day is Ben, who hurls the midget out a window like he's a professional at it. Vasile lands on some spikes below, and the pair meet up with the rest of the hunters to arm themselves with titanium weapons and waxy earplugs. As the group marches through the forest towards Stirba, she senses them approaching, so orders her brood to stop fooling around and defend her. All the werewolves run out into the night and begin transforming so that they can jump out of the bushes to attack the villagers. The ambush is chaotic and it seems like a massacre, but somehow at the end of it the hunters fight them off with only one casualty. As they get closer, however, a second man is grabbed by a werewolf, and Cross must owe this guy money because he immediately blows them up. Only Father Florin remains, so he deserves a name, and when he's leapt on by a werewolf, Ben hits it with that quick flick shot of his. They then split up so that Ben can search for Jenny while Crosscoe the queen, but that makes no sense in a well-written world. The two could be in the same room for all they know, but the real dirtbag move is when Cross sends the priest ahead of him. Somehow this hero is already inside the castle searching for the she-wolf, while Crosscoe's only discovering the front door. While Grandpa makes his way inside, Stirba, Vlad and Mariana begin doing some salute the heavens type pose, which I assume is completely necessary. The servants are ordered to retrieve Jenny, but on the way Vlad gets a case of premature transformation, which is common in men his age. By the time they reach Jen, he's fully transformed, and Mariana's whipping this man like a rented mule to prevent him from eating her. Suddenly Ben arrives and blows off Vlad's head before impaling Mariana, and you'd think they would have put up more of a fight. He rescues Jenny and carries her out of the room, but her legs work perfectly fine, so she runs once he puts her down. These two don't even bother to wait for Crosscoe, they just shoot their way out of the castle and get the hell out of Transylvania. Ben's a little excited because he points his gun at a random villager and asks for directions to the airport because he forgot, I guess. Back at the castle, Stirba brings to life the dried up old bat on the end of her staff that she's been waving around during spells. When our brave hero Florin enters, she hurls the bat at him, removing the stick from its rear end, and it attacks the hero priest. It claws out his eyeballs and probably some other things while Stirba leaves, but only because there's a costume change. When Crosscoe arrives, having taken the scenic route, she's now dressed like a Scientologist and reveals that she's the hunter's sister. She also says they're lovers, so it might just be some metaphorical mumbo-jumbo, and Stirba blasts him in the face with some rotoscoping. Honestly, none of this chick's magic worked through the whole movie, and all this does is pull Crosscoe closer so that he can stab her quicker. Sisterhood of the Wolf says now they can be wed for eternity, then the pair go up in flames, but by Crosscoe's nonchalant narration it sounds like he wanted this.
Drunk with her blood.
Meanwhile, Ben and Jenny catch a flight back to America, and sometime later they're spending their first Halloween together. A young werewolf comes knocking at the door, who can somehow speak perfect English, and cries when Ben calls his face a mask. He's like something out of a completely different movie, who lives with a priest down the hall who's equally if not vastly more strange. The credits roll, and since Stirba's actress only agreed to a single topless scene, they show it 17 times to really milk them dry. And the movie ends.